Good morning.
That's it! It's all over!
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie from MyMMAnews.com, and I am just getting back from getting my hair cut because this week I've just been feeling awful, and I'm trying to get like a reboot of my system. So here I am. It is Thursday, or no, it's actually Friday, matter of fact. Friday about 1:20 in the afternoon, and we got UFC Orlando coming up this weekend. And you know, right off the bat, the one thing I do have to say about this is there's so many people that are really downplaying this upcoming card. And if you take away the past couple of UFC cards, this is the one that you should be focused on. This is the one that most likely would have caught your attention. I know that Yoel was obviously supposed to be headlining this event. Well, they boosted that. It's Jeremy Stephens going up against Josh Emmett. And there's a lot of people out there speculating if Josh Emmett is deserving of top ranked in this, featherweight division. We're definitely going to find out Saturday night, because if he thinks he's going to go in there and do the same thing he did in his last fight, he's got another thing coming with Jeremy Stephens. So we're going to be previewing that entire card. We'll be giving you all the big names that are on it. And yes, there are a lot of big names on this card. If you are a true fight fan, this card has everything that you need to really catch your attention, I should say. And definitely worth your time on Saturday night, because there's a lot of fighters. You could say these fights don't mean anything for them moving forward, but are you a fight fan or are you not a fight fan? So we're going to break into that and so much more, guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Also on Instagram. Everything has been popping on Instagram lately. Thank you so much for all of my new followers on there. That's something I've really been trying to buckle down and be motivated with, is Instagram, trying to boost that profile up. And also on Facebook, if you aren't already, it's at Pure Evil MMA. Alright, so one last thing before we jump into today's show, the merch. I've been seeing so many people out there wanting merch, so it's so simple. Stickers, $4. Mugs, tees, hoodies, girls' tees, everything is all at teespring.com/pureevilmerch. You do not want to miss out. This is probably one of my favorite campaigns right now, and I'm going to order myself. It's about to be, it was 70 degrees out earlier this week, so I think I'm going to order myself one of the tank tops. You got the Evil Eddie symbol on there, and I'm going to be doing another campaign in about a week or two here, and also getting into the giveaways. If you guys aren't aware about the giveaway that we're doing here at Pure Evil MMA, it's so simple. All you got to do is leave a review on iTunes under Pure Evil MMA, and you have a chance to win the logo, and I will send it to you no matter where you are in the world. And also, guys, I have some big UFC Pickem announcements, and once we get into the UFC Pickem winners from last weekend's events, from Cowboy versus Yancy Medeiros, then I'll get a little bit further into that. But thank you so much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about with UFC Orlando, so let's jump into that right now, because I know a lot of you guys are anxious. So let's do it. Alright, so like I was saying, guys, if you look at this card, here's the thing, you probably didn't even know that there was a card this weekend, and that's been kind of the case for the last couple of weeks. It really seems there's a lot of people that say these are the methadone cards for the fight fans out there that need fight cards every so often. This is like their little taste to get them by, so they're not freaking out, just so they can get by till the next pay-per-view. But honestly, this isn't the case. If you take away the past couple of fight cards that we've had, this one I would have picked out of that group to say this is the one that, if I had to dedicate a Saturday to, it's going to be UFC in Orlando. The one fight that really stood out for me in this card, and we were blessed to even have Max Payne Griffin on, was that fight with Mike Perry. Mike Perry versus Max Payne Griffin. That's a really exciting fight. A fight where both of them really promised. And if you haven't seen the interview with me and Max Payne Griffin, you guys can go back here on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, and check it out. Or you can also, that's what you got to do. Check it out here on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. I'll post a couple of clips here that really got me excited about this. But if you guys don't know the full story behind Max Griffin and Mike Perry and how this fight got set up, obviously they're both on a one-fight skid. And Max Griffin got $50K for his loss, and he also has been, making a lot of people shift their heads and attention on Max Griffin because they know that he's not going to just smother Mike Perry in this fight. And that's something that I love about this because both guys pretty much were at the fighter retreat. They found Sean Shelby and they're like, we have to fight one another. So it's pretty much like they were broing out, they were drinking, and we're like, you know what, we need to make a promise to one another. We're going to go out there and make a fight of the night promise to everybody. And that's exactly what I believe is going to happen come Saturday night. I mean, there's a lot of expectation on this fight that there's not going to be any takedowns, that it's going to be a stand-up brawl, that somebody is going home with a KO. That is just the vibe that these two put on it, and they know what the fans want. So that's the fight I'm really looking forward to on this fight card. That's my pick, but there's also a lot more going on here. I mean, look at the co-main event. You got Andrade. Like, do you guys remember Andrade's last fight? And then she's going up against Tisha Torres, the tiny tornado. That is one hell of a fight. Tisha Torres only has one loss in her entire career, and that one loss to the champ Rose Namajunas in the rematch. Tisha Torres beat her early on. Rose, we all know, got the comeback and then started making this big rise to the title and ended up getting it. That is the only loss on Tisha Torres' record. And now Jessica Andrade, who just dismantled Claudia Gadelha in their last fight. That fight was something else, man. I mean, if you took Jessica Andrade in that fight and you look at her the fight before where she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk, you're like, that is not the same person. Claudia Gadelha had no chance in this fight, and I was just super shocked what Jessica Andrade was able to do to Claudia. I mean, Claudia Gadelha, she is the number one seed outside of Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and nobody else has ever been able to come across her, beat her, let alone get the takedowns that Jessica Andrade was getting on her. Literally just nonstop laying into the ground and pound, constant just picking her up and pile driving her. I mean, it was just nonstop madness for Jessica Andrade, and that is something I'm really loving that she's bringing to this division. And Tisha Torres kind of has a similar style where she's light on her feet. She's not the strongest girl, but she knows she's a really good stand-up striker, and that's what this fight's going to be for the most part. But if you look back at Jessica Andrade's last fight, and considering all the takedowns, she's probably going to try to put that in towards grabbing hold of Tisha and trying to get takedowns on her and do the same exact thing and just pound it out, maybe get the finish. I mean, if she's the same Jessica Andrade that showed up against Claudia Gadelha, there's no doubt in my mind that she should be able to get this win, but is definitely a test on Jessica Andrade without a doubt. This is not a gimme fight. Tisha Torres, like I said, only has one loss in her entire career. And if we're looking at Jessica Andrade, I mean, she's 17-6, and really the big change started coming when she changed the weight class. Once she decided to change weight classes, she's just looked so dominant, and I'm loving what she's doing here. I mean, that fight with Angela Hill that she had, that was a decent fight. I mean, there was a lot of people that were saying that was fight of the night. I enjoyed the fight. It wasn't anything special on the performance side of Angela Hill, but Jessica Andrade in that fight, just pushing forward, looked absolutely amazing. So, there has been a lot of momentum building up behind Andrade, and if she can get a win over Tisha Torres, I just don't even think that's going to be enough to say, hey, she's ready for Rose Namajunas or Joanna Jędrzejczyk. More for Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I mean, I would like to see Rose versus Andrade. That would be a fun fight. I would like to see that fight, but with the way that the odds are right now with Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Rose, depending on who wins the fight this Saturday between Andrade, obviously, and depending on who wins the fight between Rose and Joanna, it's interesting there. So, if Andrade gets the win over Tisha Torres, then I definitely say that if Rose defends the title against Joanna, book that fight. More power to her. But let's look back at Tisha Torres' run. I mean, she's on a 3-fight winning streak since losing to the champ Rose Namajunas. That was almost 2 years ago. All right, so since then she's put together 3 wins, got a win over Beck Rawlings, who's like 7-5 right now. She got a win over Juliana Lima by rear naked choke 7 months ago, and then she just beat the karate hottie Michelle Waterson 8 weeks ago. That's a pretty decent run. It looks like Andrade is 1 inch taller and has 1 extra inch reach on her. And let's look what you guys are saying on Tapology for this one. 82% of you guys are going with Andrade. 18% with Tisha Torres. Now, throwing it up in the air, like I said, if Jessica Andrade comes out like she did, and it's the same monster that she was versus Claudia Gadelha, she has a very good shot and huge chance of winning this fight. If we're putting 5 on it, I mean, it's so hard, right? Because Tisha Torres really is the tiny tornado. She has been unstoppable for a lot of girls in the past. This is an interesting matchup. Not a lot of people talking about it. And I'm surprised because there's a lot of hype behind what Jessica Andrade did to Claudia Gadelha is the female version of what Habib Nurmagomedov just did to Edson Barboza. Almost identical. Virtually identical. So let me know what you guys think about this on UFC Pickem on your pick, or also let me know on Twitter at evil_echo. But my pick, honestly, I'm going for Jessica Andrade in this one. I love Tisha Torres, don't get me wrong, but Andrade got it going on right now, and if she can keep this momentum building, she might be very well on her way to being the next champion in this weight division. All right, also on this card, we got OSP going up against Yair Latifi. This is a very interesting fight for both fighters. I mean, OSP on a 3-fight winning streak, and we know that submission that he's got been going on, the Von Fluke choke. That's all we've been wanting to see, and he's pulled it off so many times. I mean, back to back to back. The last kick over Corey Anderson, that head kick, just 12 weeks ago. I mean, OSP is on quite the ride, and it's such a shame because this is somebody, if we look back, when he came into the UFC, had a lot of steam behind him. I mean, even going back to the organization that he was in, I mean, he was a name before coming into the UFC, don't get me wrong, but really coming from a football background, the college background, and came off with a whole bunch of wins, then found some trouble once he got into the elite of the UFC. And lately, he's been able to start connecting the dots, and he's got a very weird style, but he's so athletic. It's almost like a Rumble Johnson kind of way. And with the losses that he has, let's not forget, I mean, he has a loss to John Bones Jones. If anything, he learned a lot in that fight. And since then, he's been getting a lot of very interesting wins. The Von Fluke choke, I mean, you can take one away from him with the win against Yushin Okami. I mean, that was pretty stupid on Okami's part to rush in and go straight to the ground. He had that coming to him. Don't send hate at my door, but that one, I mean, he's been building back up momentum. I mean, the shame is that he had all the hype coming in and it kind of died out, but it's building back up again. And with the Von Fluke choke, and if he can get it against Latifi in this fight, I mean, more power to him. But at the same time, not a fight that anyone's really jumping at. No one's really discussing this. It's almost a fight really that's up in the air that really people aren't really getting behind from what I'm seeing right now. And I'm a huge OSP fan, but it really seems ever since he had that, little skid. I mean, he got knocked out by Glover Teixeira, like in his hometown or whatever. That was almost 3 years ago now, thinking about it maybe. Yeah, it was probably about 3 years ago now. He fell into some hard times, but he's building it back up. With a win over Latifi, can he seal the momentum? Can you get more fans to jump back on board? Could OSP ever be the champion that he's trying to be? That's the real question here. I mean, he is growing, right? OSP over the years, he came in with a very weird style. He is growing as the years go on, and he's been impressing a lot of people. I mean, not many people have pulled off the Von Fluke choke. That's impressive. So OSP, big things going for him. We're looking at Latifi, Yair Latifi, 1-fight win streak versus Tyson Pedro. He won by decision 5 months ago. But before that, he lost to Ryan Bader. What was it? A flying knee. Or he ate a knee from Bader. Before that, he has a win over Vellante. He's got a win over Sean O'Connell. OSP, the more active fighter. Not the younger fighter. I mean, they're both pretty much the same age. As a matter of fact, Latifi a couple months younger than OSP. The odds, you got OSP as a slight favorite at a -130 and a +110, near even for Latifi here. I'm going for OSP. If I'm putting 5 here, I'm putting 5 on OSP. How it gets done, that's up in the air. I would love to see another Von Fluke choke, I'll tell you that much. But I definitely see OSP getting it done. I don't see this fight going to decision. I think OSP can finish him, and I think it's going to happen probably in the second or the third round. We're going to have to wait and see, but let me know what you guys think about this fight. Who's going to win? Is it going to be OSP or is it going to be Latifi? Let me know on Twitter, and also engage with us on Fight Night on Twitter. We have a lot of fun with people on Twitter. And who's been doing the Rudy Lara of, Fightbook MMA, has been doing something on Twitter that I've been enjoying. So I'll be tweeting that out come Fight Night, because he's always, from fight to fight, asking people, what do you think about this fight? Puts the stats up. And there are a lot of people that engage with that. And I would like to get more of our audience engaging with that under that platform, under that thread. So I'm gonna start doing that. Also, I have big announcements for UFC Pickem, guys. So stay tuned for that coming up in just a little bit at the end of this podcast, because we have some winners to announce from last week's show. But let's move forward with another fight that really sticks out to me that nobody's talking about on this UFC Orlando card. All right, so I guess I'm just going to go in order. Obviously, we talked about Max Griffin versus Mike Perry, but underneath that, Renan Barão is on this card. Former champ. He's going up against Brian Kelleher, and this is a fight where, let's look at Renan Barão for a second here, really quick. Renan Barão, who was the former champ in the bantamweight division before TJ Dillashaw came in there and took the belt away from him on last minute's notice. They run it back to do it again, and TJ just seals it. It's just, obviously, TJ's the champ after doing it twice the same exact way. Just put an onslaught on Renan Barão. Ever since that moment, Renan Barão just can't shake those cobwebs that came that night from TJ Dillashaw. I don't know what's been going on with him. He's trying to switch weight classes. Something just hasn't been the same. And you can say that with Jose Aldo, who also trains with Renan Barão. You can and you can't say that for Claudia, who also trains with Jose and Renan Barão. I mean, since then, as time has gone on, they've all kind of find their own path. Claudia got her own gym up here. Jose Aldo, he's going to be at a seminar in a couple weeks that I'll be at. So I'll be talking with Jose Aldo face to face in a couple weeks in New York City. But Renan Barão, man, hot and cold. And if this keeps up, I mean, it just doesn't seem like many people are that interested in what's going on with Renan Barão anymore. And it's such a shame, because he was such a dominant force in 2014, 2015. Nobody wanted to fight Renan Barão. And since then, I don't know what's been going on with him. I don't know if it's time catching up. I don't know if it's the wars that he's been in, but he's capable of doing so much more. And when I saw the fight beforehand with him and who's headlining this event, Jeremy Stephens, the way that Jeremy Stephens in the pre-fight at the weigh-ins just shoved Renan Barão. I mean, Renan Barão was just, I don't know what he was doing, fooling around with Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens just, I don't know if he was going through a hard weight cut or what was going on, but he wasn't having it that day, and he just shoved Renan Barão. And the way that he just threw him, I was like, ooh, I got a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I got a little nervous for Renan Barão, and he just hasn't been able to build that confidence back up. I don't know what's been going on with Renan Barão, and this is a very tough fight for him. And you can even say that if he loses this fight, it might be it for Renan Barão. And this is almost like I don't want to say a gimme fight. Brian Kelleher has a nice win under him 4 months ago over Damon Stasiak, but before that, getting a loss to Marlon Vera. This is going to be his fourth fight in the UFC for Brian Kelleher, and a win over the former champ Renan Barão is huge. Renan Barão back at bantamweight here, and he's actually the slight favorite, and he should be. I mean, and don't get me wrong, do not get me wrong on this, because Renan Barão, let's look at Renan Barão's record, because I should really zip my lips here. Renan Barão's record, he only has 5 losses in his entire professional career. Matter of fact, let me get his actual record for you guys just to double check that. All right, so Renan Barão 34-5 with his record. But here's the thing: in his last 5 fights, he's won 2 and lost 3. Renan Barão gets the rematch with TJ Dillashaw and loses. Then after that, he fights Jeremy Stephens about a year and 8 months ago. That's the fight I was just talking about. He loses that. Then he gets the win over Felipe Nover. Now, that was almost another gimme fight for Renan Barão to really see what was going on, where he's at, because Felipe Nova at that point, if I remember correctly, because I did interview Felipe before that fight with Renan, and if I remember correctly, Felipe Nova, obviously, he was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was supposed to be the next big thing, the next GSP, like Dana said during that season. He either said the next GSP or Anderson Silva, something like that. And, you know, he didn't have that good of a run in the UFC, and then they brought him back, I believe. I believe they brought him back. He fights Renan Barão and loses. I think that was the final straw, and after that, matter of fact, yes, because I remember after that fight, Renan won, he beat Felipe Nova, and then I remember Felipe directly after sending out this huge message on Instagram that he's going to be nursing now. He's stepping away from fighting. He's going to be really focused on nursing, if I remember correctly. Maybe he left. Someone's got to correct me on this. Maybe it was he was in the UFC after the Ultimate Fighter and left to focus on nursing, went to finish that, and then came back. And then maybe he left again after he lost to Renan Barão. Maybe that's what happened. Somebody correct me on this. Let me know on Twitter. But yeah, Renan Barão gets that win, and then he loses again. So just hot and cold. And like I said, he only has 5 losses on his entire record. In the last 5 fights, though, he's lost 3 and won 2. So he really needs this win, start turning things around, get the momentum building back up for Renan Barão. It's good to see him as a slight favorite. I am rooting for him. I don't know if I would pick him on DraftKings or something like that. It's not a promised win, because every time we've been seeing Renan lately in the octagon, it's hit or miss with him. It really is. I always feel like he can do a little bit more. He's not pulling the trigger as much, but I really hope that he proves me wrong in this upcoming fight. I hope he goes in there, and I hope he gets everybody to the edge of their seat. So, hats off to Renan Barão. I hope that he can get it done come Saturday night. Alright, moving forward, Sarah McMahon going against Marion Reneau. This card, if we're getting it for free, and you're not really getting it for free because at the end of the day you're paying for cable or internet, for a free card on Fox. This is awesome. This is a card that I really enjoy, and especially since they're going to be promoting it on Big Fox in front of millions of people. Max Griffin was telling us during the interview. You guys can check that. I'll post the link down in the bio below if you want to check the interview that Max Griffin did with us about his fight versus Mike Perry. You know, he said Big Fox is coming over and they're going to be filming them, kind of like what they do for embeddeds for the pay-per-views, but they're doing it for the Big Fox side of it. And I love that because they're reaching so many more people on a bigger platform with Fox, what Fox has. Especially right now, you got people watching the Olympics on the lower channels. Fox is going to be seen by millions and millions of people. And come Saturday night, you're going to have a lot of eyes. I really enjoy the fighters that they chose for this fight card. I think there's a lot of media out there. And let me get the camera back. I think there's a lot of media out there that have just been shitting on the UFC and shitting on MMA, shitting on Bellator, and I really don't appreciate it. I think in 2018, we've been seeing not the best product, but a pretty decent product where I've been entertained throughout 2018. And let me tell you something about the Bellator card that I was just at. For a live event, Bellator really brought it. They had all the live legends that were there, Royce Gracie, Vanderlei Silva. I know that everybody was kind of, throwing shade over at John Jones. The real John Jones. No, not the real John Jones. The Twitter John Jones. At John Jones on Twitter. Ran into him actually in the bathroom. I saw him as I was walking out. Took a picture with him. Talked with him for a couple of minutes outside. I thought it was really creative. Not creative. I don't know what the word for is it. But for Bellator to bring it in, I thought it was perfect for Spike TV or Paramount Network. Because you need these little things for make it stick out. Little special things that just give it character, give a card character. And Bellator, I think, did a really good job with that. Maybe all the fights didn't deliver. Maybe Heather Hardy didn't deliver for a lot of people out there. Maybe we don't want to see the boxing match next because they didn't deliver in this first fight. But at the end of the day, I think Bellator put on a great card. I think Patricky Pitbull is not getting enough credit. I think he's a huge star over there. And every time he gets a win, everybody they don't even talk about it. And I don't understand it. He went in there, did something amazing against Derek Campos, and just starts him. And nobody, I found it so fascinating. No one was talking about it afterwards. He was in the presser, and I have it down below here on Pure Evil MMA on YouTube. You guys can watch his interview for the presser. And if you want to watch all the interviews, including the one with Matt Mitrione, where he personally scares the shit out of me, looks into my soul for asking him if he is if he thinks that he delivered for Bellator, you guys got to go check that out. If you haven't heard all the rumors throughout the week, not the rumors, but seen the memes, and people kind of poking fun at me for asking Matt. But then Ariel asks Matt the same question on MMA Hour. He asked Matt the same exact question, which was, and I quote, "Matt, do you think that you delivered for Bellator being the main event?" That was my question. Fair question, right? After the crowd was booing. I don't know. If you guys want to check it out, I'll post that link down below. But you can catch it at mymmanews.com here on YouTube and also at mymmanews.com. But there's been so much media just shitting all over the latest MMA cards. And I was even sitting next to a guy from ESPN. I was kind of listening in to what he was saying, and he was shitting all over the sport too, saying how much better boxing is. One of the ESPN boxing guys. And I find it so frustrating. I really do. I think that there have been a lot of really good cards this year. I think there were a lot of really good cards last year. Moving forward, you got Sarah McMahon versus Marion Reneau. Another card that nobody's talking about. Sarah McMahon coming off a loss, though, to Ketlin Vera, the submission arm triangle choke. But before that, on a 3-fight winning streak. Marion Reneau, she is on a 2-fight winning streak. She beat Tatia Bernardo, and before that, beaten Malkina Dudiva. We got Sarah McMahon at a -230 moderate favorite, and Marion Reneau at a +190 slight underdog. Then we got Marna Moroz versus Angela Hill. And let me say this about Angela Hill. Angela Hill doesn't get enough credit out there either. I think she does a great job promoting the sport outside of, just the octagon. I think she does a great job promoting it on her social media. That whole run that she had on The Ultimate Fighter, maybe it wasn't the best thing for her. I mean, there were a couple moments in there, especially with how much she was farting and stuff like that, that kind of grossed me out, made me look at her a little differently. But at the end of the day, she's jumped leaps and bounds since being on The Ultimate Fighter, and I think that she has, still some ways to go, but she still has some really great skills. She's very talented, and I think that she has all the tools necessary to get a win over Moroz here in this fight. And let's look at Moroz's record. I mean, she's on a 1-fight loss, but so is Angela Hill. You also got Angela Hill as a -155 slate favorite, and Moroz as a +135. And a little quick thing about Angela Hill that I always thought was so interesting, and it could be wrong. I'm 99.999% positive I'm right about this. Angela Hill's grandparents were actually the first case of abductees in America. Her grandparents are an interracial couple. They're known as the Hills. Obviously, the Hills couple. I forgot. I think it's Betty Hill. Her grandmother's name is Betty, and I forgot her grandfather's name. But they're the first actual case of abductees that was actually taken very seriously. And I really recommend you guys checking this out, doing your own research, falling down your own rabbit holes on this one, because it's really interesting, especially if you look at who Angela Hill is and how obsessed she is with Mortal Kombat and video games, stuff like that. It just adds this character that, is seated inside of me now that I've known that about Angela Hill, and kind of lets it mellow out the whole fart thing. Like that really grossed me out, Angela Hill. The fart thing, there's just some things that you don't share on national television. That's one of them. But, that whole backstory I always found so interesting about her. So, guys, you can follow in a rabbit hole with that. Go check it out. Angela Hill, the Betty and Wilbur? I forgot what it is, but go check it out. It's a really cool story. But that's another fight that nobody's talking about on this card, Angela Hill versus Moroz. And this could be a sleeper fight for Fight of the Night. Like I said, the Jessica Andrade versus Angela Hill, that was considered Fight of the Night back then. It wasn't the most exciting fight, and it was more on Jessica Andrade's part with how relentless she was, pushing forward and pushing the pressure. But Angela Hill, let's not take too much away from her. Let's give her some credit. Like I said, she's made it leaps and bounds since, premiering on The Ultimate Fighter. And I think this card's a perfect fit for her. Or UFC Orlando. Moving further down the card, we got Alan Jouban. And going back, I remember interviewing Alan Jouban probably almost 2 years ago now, before he had the fight with Bilal, remember the name Muhammad, when Bilal Muhammad was Titan FC champ, coming up on short notice to take on Alan Jouban, and almost beat Alan in the third round. I remember, biting my freaking nails. Really, not really, but I remember being at the edge of my seat for that fight because Bilal Muhammad almost finished Alan Jouban, and that's the criticism that goes into Jouban's fights. And I'm a huge Jouban fan. He's a very technical fighter. We definitely saw that in the fight versus Mike Perry, where we saw that there are levels to this thing, and that was actual proof to it, not just saying, oh, there are levels to this thing because you want to sound like Meek Mill, but he actually showed Mike Perry that there are levels to this thing, that, you know, he is a technical fighter, and he definitely proved that in this fight. And moving forward, Jouban just grows and grows and grows. I mean, the fight with Gunnar Nelson, that's a fight that I would like to take away from my memory bank as a Jouban fan, but another fight that definitely helped him grow. And you could say that, but not with a permanent confidence, because what happens when fighters experience knockouts, especially like the one that Alan Jouban experienced versus Gunnar Nelson, where he was on wobbly legs. We usually see in fighters situations like this where later on in the fight career, they're not pulling the trigger as much. And this is something that I was worried about with Alan Jouban after the Gunnar Nelson fight. So I was looking forward to the fight matchup that he had after that, which was against Nico Price. So I was like, all right, he's coming off this knockout over Gunnar Nelson. Let's see if he can get things back rolling, back on the ball. He's better than that. You know, maybe he just made a mistake he knew of. You know, and then you had Nico Price. So I was like, shit, looks like there's some holes in Alan Jouban's game. And he blitzed Jouban first thing, first round, first minute of the fight, and catches him. Now you got Alan Jouban on a 2-fight losing streak. And what do you guys hear me say when I see this? If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know what I'm about to say. There is nothing scarier than a fighter on a 2-fight skid with his back against the cage. And Alan Jouban is that fighter right now. And on the receiving end of it all, you got Ben Saunders, who's on a 1-fight losing streak to Peter Sabata. Looking into this, you got Alan Jouban as the -260 moderate favorite. Ben Saunders as a +220 moderate underdog. So in this one, you know, I really would like to take Jouban on this, but I am liking that dog money for Ben Saunders. Considering that Jouban's on a 2-fight skid, it's a little scary, but I do have faith that Jouban can get the win. But I do like that dog money if anyone out there is hearing what I'm saying. But, you know, just being such a big fan of Jouban, that's a hard one. I don't want, and he's so much better than this. But it happens in this fight game. It happens all the time. You know, you look at people like Ronda Rousey and how hard people were on her for one loss, let alone the second loss, which was the worst thing that could have happened to that poor girl. But Jouban in the same boat, not on the same, you know, not with the same height, not in the same platform, but he's on a 2-fight skid, and there could be a lot of people writing Jouban off because, you know, here's the other thing. With Jouban, he's shuffling so many things at once. He's a fighter that, you know, has a home life as well. He has a family back at home. He has a modeling gig going on for him. There's so much else going on, and he says that that's not a distraction for him. And if you talk to Alan Jouban before these fights, he doesn't seem like there's really that much pressure on him. He's kind of like a loosey-goosey, relaxed, calm, cool, collected guy. And I like that about Alan, and I think that is what's going to be the deciding factor this weekend come Saturday against Ben Saunders, because there are fighters out there that will take those 2-fight losses as the weight of the world. You see this with a lot of fighters, and I think Alan's not that guy that's going to be, you know, put into the corner and feel like the world's pointing and laughing at him. I think Alan Jouban's going to rise above that and get the win this weekend. And it would be a shame if he does get 3 losses in a row. Ben Saunders, more power to him, especially if you're winning dog money off of it. But, you know, Alan Jouban, I think he's better than this. I think he has all the tools necessary to get a win over Ben Saunders. And I'm going to put my UFC Pickem pick right on Alan Jouban. That could be a sleeper fight. I could see Alan Jouban getting a finish in this fight. So look out for that in this one. My prediction for this, Alan Jouban, TKO, round 2. All right, so let's move forward. Well, look at this. Smiling Sam Alvey makes his way back on a UFC Fox card. Smiling Sam, man, hot and cold lately. He was building up a little bit of steam in 2015, 16, and then kind of just been fizzling out lately. But been hot and cold. He's coming off a loss about 4 months ago against Amiv. Before that, with a win over Rashad Evans. Before that, a loss at Thals Leitz. Before that, a win over Nate Marquardt. And he's going up against Marcin Pracino, who has just been on a slaughtering spree. He's 5 out of his last 5 fights, 13-2 record, and actually going into this fight, he's a negative 240 moderate favorite over Sam Alvey. And he's coming in this off of 1 championships. So he's not even a UFC guy, and he's coming in as a favorite over Sam Alvey. This is a fight I'm really looking forward to, man, because if you're looking at the guy that they're bringing over, he's been getting a lot of KOs, and Sam loves guys that will just sit there and stand and bang with him. That's something that, for a Sam Alvey fight, as much criticism as Sam gets, he's a character, man, and I love Sam Alvey. People give him so much shit, but he's such a great guy. And when he's in there, he does this like shit-eating grin, just biting down on the mouthpiece in his fights. And you're gonna see a lot of that come Saturday night, as I predict. I mean, don't count on it, but from what I'm seeing from his opponent's last couple of fights, I really think that this is gonna be a finish. I don't think this is gonna go to a decision. I think that Sam Alvey has his plate full here on this one, and I'm actually gonna bet against Sam Alvey, but I would like to see him get the win here. But I'm just not going to put money on it. UFC Pickem, I don't know. I'm going with his opponent here. I really am. So let's see what UFC or Tapology.com fans are ranking in. 36% of you are going with Sam Alvey and 64% with Pacino. And I think I'm going to go with Pacino on this one as well. All right, we also got Ronnie Yaha against Russell Dwayne. I'm going with Ronnie Yaha. I don't know, because Ronnie Yaha has been hot and cold as well lately. I mean, I think he's been burning himself out early on in fights. But he's coming off a win against Enrique Bruins. But before that fight with Joe Soto, I was just so cringed out in that fight. I thought Ronnie could have done so much more. Then he's going up against, like I said, Russell Dwayne. He's coming off a win, but before that, just lost. He's 1 out of 4 in his last 5 fights. This is a hammy fight to Ronnie Yaha. If he doesn't get it, it would just be a shame. 9% of fans are going with Dwayne. 91 with Yaha. So what does that tell you? Alex Perez also on this card, going up against Eric Shelton. This is a fight that is understandable that's on the prelims. But at the same time, Alex Perez, if he can get a win here, I think he can find his way as maybe a prelim headliner somewhere in the near future. I mean, let's look at his last couple of wins. He's got a win over Carl's John D. Thomas 2 months ago via Darce choke. He's got a win over Kevin Gray, Anaconda choke. He's got the Bravo choke 1 year ago via submission. The Bravo choke. Eric Shelton, though, on the other hand, coming off a win over Janelle Lusa, but he's also 2 out of 3. He's won 2 out of his last 5 fights. 35% of you guys are going with Shelton. 65% of you guys are going with Perez. Let's see what the odds are saying. Negative 140 for Perez as a slight favorite, and we got a plus 120 near even for Eric Shelton. All right, so the last fight of this card is a fight that I was kind of talking about in the interview I had this week with one of South Shore's own, The Dark Knight. So this is a fight where I'm really fucking excited for. You got Danny Bermudez making his debut in the UFC, and if you guys are familiar with Cage Titans, familiar with the East Coast, you know who he is. But he's got his plate full with Albert Morales, who's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's one of Iridom's guys. He's a warrior though, man, and this is a very tough fight for Manny Bermudez. But it's the perfect fight to start the UFC fight card off. I am totally down with this one. This is not going to go to decision. No way. Let's look back at some of Manny Bermudez's career. His last fight, he won via triangle choke. That was less than a month ago. Before that, he won via triangle choke 6 months ago. Before that, he won armbar 10 months ago. Before that, he won decision in CES. Before that, over at Cage Titan, submission, guillotine choke. I mean, the guy's 11-0. He's never lost. He's actually coming in this fight as a negative 175 slight favorite over Albert Morales. I'm really surprised over Albert Morales because, when he got signed to the UFC, I thought he'd be doing a lot more. The fights that he's losing are fights that he can definitely win. That's the thing. And he's such an inspirational guy. I don't know if you guys follow Albert Morales on on social media, but I do. Every day I watch as many fighter stories as I can to keep up with what's going on outside of the cage with a lot of these guys, because it's interesting to see where their head's at. And Albert Morales, he's one of those very headstrong warriors. But sometimes, when you have rituals and stuff like that, it could play against you sometimes. And I don't know what the case is with Albert Morales, but this is a fight that is going to be exciting, hands down. This is my sleeper fight. This is a fight I would have liked to see higher up on the card, but it makes sense why it's starting the night off. It's almost a promised finish, in my opinion. We're going to wait and see what happens. And those are my picks. I'm going to go with Albert Morales to win this fight. Maybe Danny Bermudez is going to get his first loss. But I want Bermudez to win. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm an East Coast guy. As angry as I just made a lot of my East Coast listeners, I think Albert Morales can get this one done. I think Manny Bermudez is going to bring it to the table. But the UFC caliber, the level in the UFC, I think that we are going to see levels to this game. And I think Albert Morales, from the wars that he's been through, the guys that he's come across in his UFC run, he's going to be able to teach Manny a few things, that it's not all chutes and ladders here. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am. But at the end of the day, I hope both these guys have best of skill going in there to put on an amazing performance for all of us viewers out there, everybody that's tuning in. Because this is a big one on Big Fox, man. Throughout the night, I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't the biggest fans of these Fox cards, but are you truly a fight fan when you say that? Because there really isn't any fight out there that I've ever come across where I can't stand. I mean, there are fights that are boring, but if you are watching fights live, I am constantly at the edge of my seat. The fight can be boring throughout 4.5 of the rounds. I've seen it before, 10 seconds left in a fight where shit just gets crazy. I'm constantly at the edge of my seat. It can happen at any second. If you are the guy out there that is saying that there hasn't been an exciting fight this year, shame on you. And you know what? There's more than one guy out there saying that right now. Big shout out to Kobe's Corner. I have it written down over here. He just did a video that is backing up everything I'm saying. There's been so much media out there that's just been shitting on the fighters out there. These fighters, day in and day out, go through so much. And they are faced with so many people on social media that just bash them. Even sometimes their own bosses. It's just a shame. It really is. And I think that people need to open their eyes, because the product in front of it, the product that is in front of us is absolutely amazing. And maybe there's just the wrong people in charge. Or maybe, who knows what the issue is. But honestly, what people were saying about Bellator, I think they're just so wrong. What people were saying about the last couple of weeks of UFC cards have been proven to be wrong. Look what Yoel did to Luke Rockhold. Look what people were saying about that fight beforehand. People were shitting all over that card, shitting all over that main event. And Yoel went in there and he turned on. A lot of people on that card turned on. And for that, we give you 2 thumbs up. And for our main event, obviously we got Jeremy Stephens, who's on a 2-fight winning streak right now, going up against Josh Emmett. Now, this is a fight, like I said earlier on, there's a lot of people that are saying that Josh Emmett is the next big thing for the featherweight division. Is he going to be the next champion? Is he going to be able to hold that featherweight title? Honestly, for Max Holloway, that's what people are believing right now, because I'm not buying it. I think that his last couple of fights have been really great. But if he thinks he's going to do the same thing that he did in his last fight to Jeremy Stephens, he's got another thing coming. I think Jeremy Stephens, he's coming off a huge win over Doho Choi. It's kind of soon for him to come back. There's really not much to prove here besides that, you've cemented your place here, that you are the upper echelon, that this guy isn't deserving of a number 4 spot, that you aren't meant to be number 7, that you are a top 5 guy. I mean, there is that to be proved here. Josh Emmett getting a lot of steam. And, you can bash that, but, I do enjoy seeing the UFC pump some of these guys up that they believe it. So, Josh Emmett, I remember when he made his debut, I believe it's what I remember from his debut, that at the end of the fight, his finger was like bent back sideways some wacky way. Maybe he won that fight. Did he win his debut? Let me know on Twitter. Completely forgotten. I don't even know if this was his debut. I believe it was. He was training over with Team Alpha Male. But you know what? I thought, from that time to now, hasn't been that long in my mind. And it seems a little soon. I mean, Jeremy Stephens has been doing this thing for a decade now and hasn't had many shots at the title. And he's been taking on a lot of guys he beat RDA at one point years ago. But the last couple of fights, man, Jeremy Stephens has been putting on quite the show. Josh Emmett, on the other hand, he's just on a 2-fight winning streak. And so is Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens, his 2 losses were to Frankie Edgar and Renato Carneiro. And that was via split decision. Going into this, -165 slight favorite for Jeremy Stephens, and we got a +145 slight underdog for Josh Emmett. What do you guys think about this? Is the majority of people wrong? Is this a crazy... it's not like this fight is crazy. The rankings are what is crazy about this. More power to Josh Emmett for being promoted more if they want to boost him up in the rankings. But, the way the rankings are set up could be a little whack, but in due time, it's going to be sorted when you have people like Jeremy Stephens who are going to go up there and chisel that guy right back down and put him in his place. So that's what I really think is going to happen this weekend. I think Jeremy Stephens is going to get another win. Is it going to be a decision? Maybe I could see a 4th round finish from Jeremy Stephens. I don't know right now. My initial reaction, what is my initial reaction here with this one? Honestly, maybe Josh Emmett winning. We'll wait and see. I think Josh Emmett has what it takes to maybe keep the distance from Jeremy Stephens, work his feet, work the jab, not get too serious exchanging, because that's where he's going to make the biggest mistakes. Like I said, he thinks he's going to go in there and do what he did to Ricardo Lamas. He's got another thing coming. I'm telling you right now. His best bet is to keep distance, use his footwork, work the jab. And I'm not an MMA coach. I'm not any type of guy to give anybody suggestions. I'm just the guy that's a little worried for Josh Emmett if he's going to go in there and trade. I think his best bet is to keep distance. That's all I'm saying here. My bet is on Jeremy Stephens, but I do see how Josh Emmett can come out the other side as a winner here. Maybe this is a good fight for them to match Josh Emmett up with Jeremy Stephens to build a name off of. It's very, Josh Emmett has a lot to win here. He has a lot to gain. Jeremy Stephens not so much, besides proving the point of Josh Emmett doesn't belong. Put Josh Emmett in his place. So there you go. That's the backstory here. If you want the real backstory, you guys can go check out the Fox backdrop, because Max Payne Griffin said that they are recording him a couple weeks ago, and it should be on Fox like today. So today is Friday. It is about 2:15 p.m. Wrapping up the podcast here. So I'm guessing it should be up on Fox on demand. Should be on YouTube. I think that they do a great job with the embeddeds, and I think they do an even better job with the Fox, the road to the Octagon for Fox. I believe that's what they call it. So guys, check it out. All right, so let's get into our UFC Pickem winners, guys. Quick reminder, the merch is up at teespring.com/pureevilmerch. That's teespring.com/pureevilmerch. PUREEVILMERCH. Guys, we got hoodies, we got tees, we got girls tees, we got stickers, we got tank tops, we got coffee cups. Show your support. Rep Pure Evil MMA gear. I've been loving the pictures that you guys send me. Last couple of campaigns have been so fucking awesome. I want to thank everybody for getting the Pure Evil swag, the Pure Evil merch, streetwear, the Pure Evil street team out there. I really want to salute you guys. So let's get into our UFC Pick'em winners right now with Minion McGrunion. Let's hit it.
Since 1993, MMA fighters from all over the world have gone into battle, shedding blood, sweat and tears to prove that they are worthy of holding the title of champion. At every UFC event, as the fighters throw down in the octagon for our entertainment, each hoping to validate that they are the best by someday having a UFC belt strapped around their waist. A second competition rages amongst the Pure Evil army for the right to lay claim to the prestigious Crystal Skull belt, for ultimate Pickem bragging rights over their evil brothers and sisters in arms. And this week, after climbing their way to the top of the Pure Evil ranks, the prominent honours of the Crystal Skull are awarded to...
Thank you, Minion. So this week our winner is Golped Potter MMA. You have won with 2,915 points. Congratulations. You are this week's Pure Evil MMA Crystal Skull winner. And guys, big announcement. For the next couple of events, I'm going to be getting bracelets. So the winners are actually going to be starting to be sent Pure Evil MMA bracelets. So if you want a chance to get your hands on one, all you got to do is DM me on Twitter at evil_echo, and I will set you up with the UFC Pickem link. Until next time, though, guys, UFC Orlando right around the corner. Good luck with your picks and behave yourselves. Congratulations, Golped Potter, and I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Good luck. Oh yeah, and behave yourselves. Alright, so that about does it for me here at Pure Evil MMA for the breakdown for UFC Orlando. Like I keep saying, guys, if you want to see the interview with me and Max Payne Griffin, I will put the link down below here on YouTube. But if you're on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all you gotta do is hop over to YouTube, or I have it right here on the audio format under Max Payne Griffin, special guest. So check it out here at Pure Evil MMA. For all of our new listeners, make sure you guys subscribe down below here on iTunes, Podbean. And if you want to win the giveaway that we're doing in about 2 weeks' time here, all you gotta do is leave us a review here on iTunes. That's it. It's as simple as that. And the best 2 reviews will get 2 very special gifts sent their way. No matter where they are in the world, on the planet, I will send it to you. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown here for Pure Evil MMA. You can catch all the MMA action this weekend on Fox. I believe the card is starting at 4 p.m. here on the East Coast, so which is really early. So what is that, 1 p.m. on the fucking West Coast? That's a little early and a little hard for people to get engaged that early in the day, at least for me. Even 4 in the afternoon is a little early for the first fight, but it is what it is. If you're a true fight fan, you are going to be tuning in, right? Guys, thank you so much. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, MyMMAnews.com. You can find all the action there. Leave yourselves.